Farrand and Votey, built in Detroit, Michigan, USA. We'll probably find a date on it, though from its appearance I'd say it's probably about 1890 to 1900. It's complete, except it's lost its tremolo, but it has retained its back. It once had a big fancy high top, of which that appears to be all that remained. They were very often cut down in the old days. But it is a perfectly good musical instrument when it's rebuilt. It'll be good for another 100 years. Oh, I used to do it as a hobby for years, and so most of my life actually. As a profession since 1999, when I was reached retirement, managed to decide to do it full time. And it's been surprisingly lucrative. Well, I take that back. It hasn't been lucrative, but it certainly kept me busy. But my favorite, my passion is to take something that other people think is a piece of junk and turn it back into the musical instrument that it is so they can play it. That's what they're for, after all. And so they're an amazing technology, completely mechanical, no electrons or anything running around inside. And so they're very green, friendly, not much of a carbon footprint, and so they're very nice and modern in their own way. And you get a certain amount of exercise in pedaling. As you can see, it doesn't take very long to take it all apart. We have removed the lower action, which will eventually get totally recovered. This rubber cloth has failed. The rest of the organ is in this heap, which will eventually all get taken apart or as necessary, or replaced as necessary. And we've got the upper action down to the carcass. We can't take much more than this. All the reeds are out. Our bed felts will remove tomorrow, but otherwise there's nothing else can be taken apart here. And we've taken most of the dirt off. We'll put a new finish on it. It'll look like new. Well, we've been cleaning reeds, and we've been shellacking the carcass, and that's looking very nice. Certainly very different from what we did a few days ago. The reeds got mixed up a little bit, as they sometimes do, but fortunately they're all marked so we can get them straightened out. Today we are going to polish the butts of these reeds, which will enable us to read the note stamps very easily, and we will be able to sort them out and get them back into their proper order. And then we're going to put the bed felt into the carcass and put the reeds back into the organ. So yesterday we refaced the mutes, which are the gadgets that respond to pulling the knob, and the auxiliary mutes. And today we are going to have this thing back together enough to put it on some wind and test it. We'll find out if what we did yesterday was done well enough, and we will have it then ready for tuning, and we'll see how good a tuner George turned out to be. 30 cents sharp. So it was basically about 452 originally. Not unusual. So we've determined that we're 23 cents sharp. So we're going to pull this reed out and put a slip under it. We've already determined that at least 12 strokes are necessary here. And we're going to put it back in. We're still 13 cents sharp, so we're going to take a few more strokes to get rid of those. Should be pretty close. Now I would give it a 5-cent scratch. And a 5-cent scratch is about that much. George tuned this thing to 440 and it's got it pretty close. However, we have a different set that will sound very different. That's out of tune. All right, so today George tuned the Celeste range, which is slightly untuned actually, and that is to create the sort of undulating sound that is characteristic of the Celeste sound. So this is this. That's without. This is with. So the organ is now fully tuned. Oh, well, on this action I'm beginning to get it ready to put on the tuning jack. But on your instrument we're going to recover the exhauster, the reservoir as it's so called, although it's technically an equalizer, with a strip of new rubber cloth which will hopefully last another 100 years and before it has to be done again. But because it probably does have to be done again, we're going to use hot hide glue, which is what it was done with originally, so that it is easily reversible for the next poor devil that has to do it again. And by the same token, we are not going to use white glue as some people do, because that makes it impossible for the next guy. To do all this, we have to determine both the length of the cloth piece that goes around all that and the width, so that we wind up with the exhauster opening, the reservoir opening as far as it did originally, but no further. If we get that done today, we may also prepare the wrappers for the exhausters, which have to be made with the ribs glued on inside, and I like to leave them over the weekend so that that glue gets good and dry before I work with them to actually recover the exhaust. These wrappers that we made last week with the ribs mounted inside, and we'll proceed there today. We'll use up a lot of glue today.